So your trip overseas, you're on the ship, and you show up in Korea.
Yes. You can't understand what it's like to be several miles offshore and begin to smell what's going to be, turned out to be the port of Pusan. You could smell it before you ever got there. And we knew we were pulling into, and I've never been to that part of the world in my whole life. And we offloaded ourselves from the troop ship, waited for our tanks to come on the other ships, and we spent 4 days in Pusan waiting for the equipment to come, and then offloading it and getting it ready to go into battle.
Then, at what point? This is like the Battle of Pusan. This is the Pusan perimeter.
Yeah.
And this is the beginning of it right now. This is, for those of you that don't know, this is North Korean troops coming down, 100,000 North Korean troops coming down, and have you guys basically squeezed onto, it's almost a peninsula. It's like a little knot of land that sticks out.
35 miles radius from the city of Pusan was the Pusan perimeter. That was the last territory held. Everything else was held by the North Koreans.
And so when you landed there, that's the situation they were in.
Yes. And
how did you and your troops feel about that?
I don't think we were even cognizant of how serious it was. After we loaded the tanks onto the rail cars, to go to the railhead of Maryang, which is, I don't know, 20 miles, 25 miles from Pusan, where we offloaded the tanks, is where I first went into combat in Korea. I don't really know that we thought how serious it was. I got the impression several days later, when the assistant division commander called all the officers and senior NCOs together in a place, and he said, "Men, we live or die here." And I thought to myself, what in the hell did I get myself into here? But that's what it was. I mean, in hindsight, I've read books about what happened in Korea, and we really didn't understand that. I mean, we were just there doing a job, and I don't think we really understood how perilous the situation was.
And at any point while you were there, did you understand the peril of the situation, or were you just in your particular battles day by day trying to hold the line where you were, and was the communications kind of not effective enough to really, for you to understand the bigger picture?
We had no idea what the bigger picture was. I mean, honest to God, we were just doing our job, and as I said earlier, watching these waves of people come across the Nakton River will never, ever go away from my memory. I mean, people were just coming, and all we were doing was shooting, and they would just keep coming. And we managed to hold the line, and they didn't penetrate. So, no, the answer is we didn't understand the perilous of the situation.
Were you holding the line specifically, you were holding the line on that river?
Yes.
And so they were going to have to try and cross that river to get through the line?
Yes.
Were they swimming? Were they taking boats? What were they doing?
They were wading. It wasn't that deep.
Okay.
It wasn't that. It was pretty wide river, but it wasn't that deep. So they were able to wade across. Yeah. And they would just keep coming. I mean,
And then how long were you under intense waves of attacks like that? It was like was it like 20 days or something of the whole thing? I think lasted, I don't know, 20 days or something.
yeah,
like
I was
that.
going to. I don't know. It seemed like forever, but I think it was probably over in a couple of weeks. My first involvement, we got off the tanks off the flat cars, and then we rolled into action, and my lead tank in front of my very eyes exploded. And I will never forget watching the tank commander go sailing out into the ditch to the right, and the tank exploding. We rounded a curve, and unbeknownst to us, there were 2 Russian tanks manned by Koreans up this draw, and they fired at this tank. And we had my platoon was M4s, Sherman tanks, and gas engines, and they fired, and as soon as they fired into the gas tank, the whole thing exploded. And so my first day in Korea combat, 1 tank destroyed, 5 people, which were, at that time the tank had a crew of 5, 4 of them were killed in the tank. The tank commander was back in the United States in less than 2 weeks after we left, or 3 weeks after we left. And that was my first day in combat in Korea. And so from then on, we got into the perimeter and spent a couple of weeks there. I don't remember. You read earlier the citation. It was on September 19th, which was when I was. Only reason I know that was September 19th is because of what you read. I didn't remember what exact dates it was, because it wasn't too long after that happened that we had the Incheon landing and everything broke out and we were heading north. So it was a couple of weeks, I don't know.